When I went to pick up my drunk brother, Rhett Minsley, I overheard him asking his best friend, Samuel Horan, "So when are you going to let us meet your secret girlfriend?" My heart raced. Rhett and the others had no idea I was the girl Samuel had been dating for 2 years. The next second, Samuel's tipsy voice drifted over. "Why should I? It's just a fling. Nothing serious." Stunned and heartbroken, I knocked on the door. Everyone turned to look at me. "What are you doing here?" Rhett stubbed out his cigarette and patted the seat beside him, motioning for me to sit. "The driver is on leave today, so Mom and Dad asked me to come and get you." Rhett nodded and said to everyone in the room, "Put out your cigarettes. My sister can't stand the smell." One of them teased, "Whoa, you're so protective of your sister. What will you do if she gets a boyfriend?" Rhett chuckled, swearing under his breath as he affectionately ruffled my hair. "Don't get any ideas. Ellie is pure and sweet. She belongs to a completely different world from trash like you." A man I didn't recognize spoke up. "Ouch. That hurts. Are you saying there isn't a single one of us here good enough for her?" Rhett looked around, his gaze finally landing on the silent Samuel. "Well, if I had to pick, Sam might barely pass, but after what he just said, forget it. I'm not letting him break Ellie's heart." He was just joking, his tone casual, but Samuel seemed uncomfortable. I looked at me then quickly looked away. "Cut it out. I only see her as a sister." Sister? That was a bit much. I stared blankly at his tense, troubled profile, my eyes stinging. Rhett's voice pulled me back. "Why are you staring at Sam like that?" I quickly looked away, biting down hard on my trembling lips. Someone teased, "Don't be fooled by Sam's looks. He's not a good man." "That's right, Ellie. He just lost a game." And when we asked what he liked about his girlfriend, he said she's young, easy to control, and so gentle and nice, she won't cause any trouble. What kind of answer is that? We used to think he really liked her. But guess what? He said he'd let his pity get the better of him, seeing how completely she was smitten with him. Unbelievable. Right. Also, he refuses to introduce her to us. When a guy does that, there are only two reasons: either he's too possessive and afraid his friends will take an interest, or he figures they'll break up anyway, so there's no point in introducing her. And he just admitted though. "That's enough." Samuel cut in sharply. He slammed his glass onto the table with a loud thud, and everyone fell silent. The atmosphere turned tense and awkward. Rhett, who was closest to him, frowned. "Why are you getting so worked up? Is it about Mara returning?" My heart skipped a beat. Maureen Mortimer was coming back. Samuel lit another cigarette irritably and took a few drags. Then, remembering I was there, he glanced at me and tossed it into the ice bucket. "Don't mention her." Rhett smiled like a seasoned veteran in romance. "Stop pretending. You just said you don't like your secret girlfriend. Is it because you're still in love with Mara?" Everyone knew Samuel was dating someone, but no one knew it was me. Whenever he was out with friends, he would answer my calls and patiently tell me where he was. No matter how busy he was, he never forgot to send me flowers and gifts every week. Even Rhett once said to me, "It seems like Samuel's fallen in love with someone." I might have looked calm, but inside, I was over the moon. Over the past 2 years, he had been attentive and romantic. I couldn't have asked for more from him. The only problem was that he insisted on keeping our relationship hidden. He explained that Rhett, being overprotective of me, would go ballistic if he knew about us. I had believed him until I heard what he said moments ago. To him, I was just a fling not even worth bringing around his friends. Chapter Dois. I panicked, my eyes stinging as tears threatened to spill. I quickly made an excuse to go to the restroom and got up to leave. The moment I closed the door, my tears fell uncontrollably. Thankfully, the bar was loud enough that no one could hear my suppressed sobs. My phone chimed with a message from Samuel. "I'll be waiting for you outside." It had only been 10 minutes since I arrived here happily, yet it felt like I had been dragged into icy seawater, my whole body freezing as my hands trembled uncontrollably. In such a short time, I couldn't process any of this. How could I deal with knowing the person I thought I shared a bond with was never serious about me? He only dated me, out of pity. In truth, his heart had always been with someone else. A sharp pain stabbed my chest. I took a long time to steady myself before grabbing some tissues to wipe my tears. Then, I walked out. Samuel was leaning against a wall nearby, waiting for me. I looked at him, my tears threatening to fall again. We hadn't seen each other for a month. He had gone abroad on a business trip and only came back today. We initially agreed to meet tomorrow, but I couldn't resist and wanted to see him sooner. That was why I ended up coming here. He slowly walked toward me, staring at my reddened eyes. After a long pause, he said, "I'm sorry." I found those words rather strange. Any girl would want to hear that when her boyfriend made a tiny mistake. This simple sentence could smooth things over. But when things went wrong in a relationship, those words were useless. No explanation needed, just a direct sentence declaring this, love dead. "Samuel, aren't you going to explain what you said earlier?" He avoided my gaze without answering me directly. "Why are you being so sensitive? It was just casual talk between friends. Why take it seriously? I think I've been a pretty decent boyfriend." Was I being too sensitive? Perhaps. Sensitive people got hurt much more easily. I tried holding back, but my tears fell once more. He reached out to wipe them away, but I turned my head to avoid him. I took a deep breath, and continued. "You still like Maureen? Then why did you agree to be with me?" At her name, his expression finally darkened. "Haven't you always known? Why pretend now?" He said coldly. The heater was on, and my breathing hitched. I couldn't seem to catch my breath. My chest hurt as if it were being squeezed, and my head felt dizzy from the heat. It was our first time talking about Maureen, and he immediately dropped his usual warmth, becoming so distant that it felt suffocating. As expected, Maureen was his Achilles heel. I felt like yelling at him, but my throat felt stuck. Samuel's phone rang at the worst possible moment. The screen showed a foreign number with no name saved. However, my intuition told me it was Maureen. His eyes lit up, and he quickly walked past me to answer the call. It hadn't even rung for 10 seconds, as if he was afraid to keep her waiting. Through the noisy music, I heard his gentle voice fading away. Maura. Indeed, my intuition was right. It just never warned me that Samuel didn't love me. When I returned to the room in a daze, Rhett and the others were talking about Samuel. He doesn't even blush, no matter how much we tease him. Why did he get so worked up today? Could it really be because of Maura? Rhett took a sip of his drink, and said slowly, what else could it be? For years, whenever he got drunk, he'd call out Maura's name. When she first went abroad, he secretly went to see her. I don't know what happened, but when he came back, he was so depressed. No matter how I asked, he wouldn't tell me. He started dating someone else, and I could tell he was starting to care for his girlfriend. I thought he'd moved on. But did you see his expression when he heard Maura was coming back? I called him several times before he even heard me. I had never seen Samuel drunk, never heard him call someone else's name, and never knew he had gone abroad to visit her. They kept talking about the love letter he never gave Maureen at her coming-of-age party, or how he bought every album she released. It turned out I knew little about him. I stood there blankly, listening as they praised how he loved in silence, how worthy and sincere it was. I forced myself to stay calm, but my nails dug deep into my palm. Even the notorious playboy we knew clicked his tongue and remarked, his girlfriend is rather pitiful. Though 2 years down the drain, I pretended to rub my eyes, wiping away the tears at the corners. Just then, Rhett turned to look at me. Dropping his usual careless attitude, he said seriously, don't ever trust men. Eloise. Samuel seemed like such a good man, and Rhett almost fell for it. He coaxed me into the beautiful illusion he wove, only to shatter it with a mere apology. I nodded and whispered in a barely audible voice, yeah, I sure as hell won't ever again. Chapter Trace. Samuel never came back. Worried something might have happened to him, Rhett gave him a call. After hanging up, he cursed. That idiot got a call from Maureen, saying she's coming back. Now he's off planning a welcome back party for her. Isn't he crazy, doing this in the middle of the night? Everyone burst out laughing. I was the only one who didn't. Perhaps my presence made everyone hesitant to speak freely, and the gathering ended sooner than usual. Rhett was pretty drunk, and it took me a lot of effort to get him into the passenger seat of the convertible. He was unusually talkative tonight, mumbling about our childhood. You were so tiny when you were little. Since when did you grow up so much? You can even drive me around now. I had just gotten my driver's license and wasn't very skilled yet, so I gripped the steering wheel with both hands and focused on driving. Seeing me not respond, he kept muttering, why aren't you talking? You've always been so quiet. You and Maura are the same age, had the same upbringing, and yet your personalities are completely opposite. Hearing her name, my grip tightened instinctively. Ellie, you're my sister. You can be willful, you can act spoiled, and you can do whatever you want. From the corner of my eye, I watched as Rhett tilted his head, falling asleep after saying all that, but my memories drifted uncontrollably back to our childhood. I was never willful or spoiled. People said Rhett was overly protective of his sister, but we weren't like this all along. I couldn't really blame him after all. I wasn't very likable, especially with someone like Maureen around, so cheerful and lovable I was overshadowed, and everyone favored her more. Both Rhett and Samuel felt the same way. Too, they often took Maureen to play games, catch fireflies, climb trees, and pick fruit, never asking if I wanted to tag along. Even the way they addressed us was different. She got affectionate nicknames, while I was always called by my first name. Maureen would ask the boys to play pretend with her. She was the princess, and they were princes, knights, and dwarfs. Meanwhile, I was stuck being her maid since there could only be one princess. I would always blend into the background, but Samuel noticed me. When I was 10, Maureen was obsessed with dramatic fantasies, and insisted on having everyone write wish notes, burying them so we could dig them up years later. They helped her buy paper, handed her pens, and dug a hole. I stood behind them with my head lowered, saying nothing. I wanted to write one too, but no one offered me. They pinched Maureen's cheeks and teased her for being childish, yet their shovels never stopped digging. Even Red assumed I stood so far away because I wasn't interested, but I was just afraid that even if I got closer, no one would notice me. That would hurt even more. But Samuel noticed. While crouched on the ground, he looked up and saw my red-rimmed eyes. Realizing I was too shy to ask, he suddenly called out, Eloise, would you like to write one too? Girls like these things, right? I'll dig a hole for you as well. Maureen had a natural charm that made people like her, and she enjoyed everyone's affection without much thought. But I was different. I knew I would never forget the way Samuel looked at me when he asked that question. Throughout our youth, those bits of kindness and care slowly gathered into a love I couldn't put into words. He was right, I knew he liked Maureen. The cello solo he loved to listen to was from her recital when she turned 8. He took ages to master her favorite dish. From what I remembered, he always had eyes for Maureen, and I stood behind them, watching quietly. But he was a gem. Whether as the kind boy I remembered or the confident man he had become, I couldn't help liking him. After Maureen went abroad, he was always in a bad mood. To cheer him up, Red often invited him to our house for meals and games. I used excuses like bringing fruit or asking math questions to go into Red's room. And that was how I started interacting with him more and more. I slowly grew greedy, hoping that one day he might come to love me. Perhaps my sincerity moved fate, for he started looking at me in a different light. 2 years ago, he blushed and softly asked, Ellie, should we give it a try? Suddenly, the gentle look from my memories overlapped with the cold expression from just now. Haven't you always known? Why are you pretending now? My vision blurred. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand, but when I could see clearly again, it was already too late. I crashed straight into the car in front,